Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the SciLE Stats YouTube channel. And today, as promised in the last video, we're going to be going over my MIT predictions. So before we get into this, I wanted to just tell you guys how I did this because it was a little different from my SOAPs predictions, my process for going through in each event. You'll notice I did not rank every team in every event. And that's simply because there are too many competitive teams, too many teams for me to do that for. Excuse me. Um, so and I mean, this was painful enough, honestly, going through each and every team, looking at how they did in every event across every invitational that they've attended so far. Excuse me. Um, and trying to compare them and saying, okay, well, this team got third and second in these two invitationals, but then this team that they've never faced before got first and fourth in these two invitationals. It was just really hard to try and figure out who would win that matchup. So like I assessed the competitiveness of the invitationals. I used proxies, like the main proxy that I used was Monta Vista, who is not going to MIT. A lot of teams have on this list that are going to MIT have gone up against Monta Vista, and let me change something here with my formatting real quick. There we go. Sorry. A lot of teams on this list have gone up against Monta Vista, so I looked to see, like, okay, this team beat Monta Vista in whatever optics or something, and then I looked to see how good Monta Vista was in optics. So I was like, okay, well, Monta Vista, they're okay in optics, so beating them isn't necessarily that big of a deal. And then, but if they were really good at optics and a certain team beat them, then I'm like, okay, well, then that team is really good, really competitive in this event. And as for, because I was really inconsistent with how many teams I ranked, if basically there was no, science to this really, no consistent process that I did when I for how many teams I ranked in each event. So like anatomy, you can see I have 3 on here, air trajectory, and then anatomy, I have 6. So like it was really just how easy is it for me to rank these teams in events like anatomy or in Codebusters, where I have 7 here. In one of these, I might even have 8. Yeah, in Dynamic Planet, I actually have 8 teams ranked. It was just really easy for me to, like, maybe a bunch of the teams went up against each other in recent invitationals. So I was like, okay, well, this team beat this team, which beat this team. So that means at MIT, it's probably going to go about the same way. Now, again, a big disclaimer about that. And about this whole video, really. My SOAPs predictions, if you watched my SOAPs analysis video, you'll know that my predictions for SOAPs were horribly inaccurate. I got like a 30%, 30 some percent of my predictions were right. So not the greatest record, but we'll see if we can improve with this tournament. But yeah, just take these with a grain of salt, of course. And that's the other thing, is that teams, of course, are improving in these events every day. Every time they go to their sessions or they work on their events at home, they're getting better. So it's really just, determining, it's impossible to predict who wins these matchups, because unlike sports where, you can watch teams practice and see the work they're doing, it's you obviously you can't I can't attend like Troy's sessions, right? I can't see like, oh, Troy's working on ChemLab a lot, so they're probably going to do well in that event. I really just have public data to go off of. So yeah, that's any of these teams can do well in any of these events. This is by no means determinant. I don't want to influence how any team does in any particular event with these prediction videos. It's just something fun to do, So with that said, let's get into it. So let's talk about overalls real quick. just real basic going down the list here. I'm predicting Mountain View from California will get first. Troy from California will get second. Mason will get third. Seven Lakes fourth. Syosset fifth. Marquette sixth. Acton Boxborough seventh. Jordan eighth. Montgomery ninth. Cumberland Valley 10th. West Windsor Plainsboro 11th. Harriton 12th. Ward Melville 13th. New Trier 14th. Stevenson 15th. William P. Clements gets 16th. William G. Enlow gets 17th. And last but probably not least, at least in some of these events, Iolani will get 18th. I stopped at 17th, right? I didn't number these, but yeah. So that's my overall predictions. Now, there are a couple things here that I want to talk about real quick before we get into event specifics. And the first one is Acton Boxborough. I did not rank Acton Boxborough in any of these events. And that is simply because we have no data on them. This, to the best of my knowledge, is the first invitational that they will be attending this year. The only thing that I could have done is I could have looked... here we go. I could have looked at the national results from last year and said, okay, Acton, what's an event they did well in here? Here we go, XD. So I could have said, all right, Acton Boxborough got third in XD, so they were probably going to do well this year. I didn't want to do that because that's just a whole nother layer of complicatedness on top of what I'm already doing. And I'm going to be honest, I just don't want to put that much work into this channel right now since, this channel is still very small. I don't even know if anyone's watching this video right now. So, yeah, I didn't rank Acton Boxborough in anything. It's fairly, and that's why they're highlighted in yellow as well, because I really have no idea where they're going to fall. I mean, as Stevenson has shown us, doing well at Nationals last year doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be doing well this year. And as teams like Jordan and Cumberland Valley tell us, teams that didn't even make it to Nationals last year are doing very well this year. So you really have no idea where teams that you don't have data on are going to fall. I did put them in, what is that, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th place. Again, I think it's fairly safe to say they'll be at least in the top 10 because they did very well at Nationals last year. But again, like I said, as Stevenson has shown us this year, that doesn't necessarily indicate that they will do very well. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was Syosset and Marquette, because you'll notice this was a last-minute change that I made right before I started recording. I actually am ranking them ahead of Jordan and Acton Boxborough. Again, as I just said, Acton Boxborough, we don't have any data on. But Jordan, if you remember correctly, in the last time you saw my top 10 nationally ranked teams, Jordan was ahead of Syosset and Marquette. But as I was going through here and as I was looking at events that Marquette and Syosset are good at and where I think they'll rank in each of these events, I kept stumbling upon a series of events that I'm like, wow, this is another event that Marquette is amazing at, or wow, it's another event that Syosset's really good at. You can see just when I'm scrolling through here how many first places and second places these two teams get. So I actually did decide, after going through on an event-by-event basis, I did decide to rank these two teams ahead of Jordan and Acton Boxborough. Again, this could go either way. Jordan, though, I think I made a bit of a mistake putting Jordan ahead of these two teams for a while. And if you're keeping track at home, you'll know now Marquette did officially move up. So they are no longer the only team on here that has not moved since the first iteration of this ranking. So this is officially a completely different ranking from my first iteration, but that doesn't really matter. Now, I tend to talk a lot, and these videos go on a lot longer than I expect, so let's get into this. Air trajectory. So as I get into this, I'm only going to be talking about the team I ranked first. Again, simply because it would take way too long if I went through each and every team that I ranked in these events. So let's go with air trajectory. I'm giving Marquette the win here. If we look, in air trajectory, once I get over there we go. I like to have it like this, so you just need to look at this. If we look, oh, by the way, there one more thing I want to go over: how I decided, if a team is good at an event or not. I looked at two things. The first one I looked at was rankings, and rankings at what invitationals. So, like, if if Marquette competed against really competitive teams and did really well in an event at an invitational, that's obviously going to raise my opinion of them in this event. And the other thing I looked for, number two, was consistency. So, like, if Marquette did really well in this event at one invitational, but then bombed it at another, I wouldn't rank them so high. And a couple of these events were really hard. A couple teams were really hard to rank in some of these events because they would do so well at one invitational, but then just completely bomb it at another one. And it was honestly kind of frustrating because, like, I think it was Stevenson I was looking at in one of these events that it's like, you were so close, man. All right. Anyway, Marquette in air trajectory. So you can see second at Palatine, pretty good. And first at Belleville, very good. First at their own invitational, again, very good. First at Harlem. So you can see as I'm going through here, very consistently getting firsts and seconds. The only indication that they might not do well was at Boyceville, where they got eighth. That was a decent bit ago. Some more recent tournaments have shown me that Marquette is once again very good at air trajectory. So I'm giving them the win there. Anatomy, I'm going to give to Jordan. If we look at Jordan's record in anatomy here, you can see first at University of Texas. And why is this not working? There we go. What did I just do? Oh, I'm looking at air trajectory now. Okay, there we go. First at that's Cypress Falls. First at Cypress Falls and University of Texas, and first at Highlands. Those are the only three tournaments that they've attended, and they've literally gotten first in anatomy at every single one. Highlands, if you'll remember correctly, I'm not a huge fan of, but I mean, if we look at any other tournament, they've gotten first every time. So I don't have too many doubts about putting them in first for anatomy at this tournament. Now, astronomy, I'm giving to Seven Lakes. If we look at their record in astronomy, you can see first at Cypress Falls, first at Rickards. By the way, if teams go unstacked, I just take at Rickards, they got first and then 28th. I took their best ranking there, giving them the benefit of the doubt. And I did that for all teams. That was a consistent part of my rankings. Really, again, the only indication that they're not very good at astronomy is Highlands, which not only is very old and outdated, but again, I'm not a super big fan of the tournament to begin with. And here, first and second at University of Texas. So even unstacked, they can do really well in this event. So I'm going to give astronomy to Seven Lakes. Chem Lab, I'm giving to Marquette. Another one to Marquette. If we look here at their record, fourth, not too bad at Belleville. Then first at their own invitational. Pretty not great at Harlem, though. And then first at Palatine. So a little less consistent. Chem Lab, I think, yes, I did. So if you remember, my little system here is if I italicize something, either a team, like Acton Boxborough is italicized for obvious reasons, like I said. If I italicize an event, I'm not very confident in that event ranking. And yeah, actually, Marquette was the only team that I ranked in Chem Lab because none of these teams are that great at Chem Lab. So this is an excellent event for, a team that's not on this list, not super competitive, to come in and snatch that first place. So Codebusters, I am giving to Cumberland Valley. They have an amazing code team. It was amazing last year, and I believe it's the same couple people that is this year. You can see first at Soaps, second and fifth. Again, unstacked, that's very good at Battle at Valley Forge. And then here at Dick Smith, not quite as great, still pretty good though. But this first at Soaps, beating Mason and Carmel and Lower Marion and Thomas Jefferson in this event is excellent. So I think I'm giving Codebusters to Cumberland Valley. And another one for Marquette's detector building. If we look at their record in detector building, you can see, let me put the comma on the end so we don't get their invitational. You can see first at whatever invitational that was. I didn't look. Third at Marquette, pretty good. This eighth at Harlem, not too great. They did get fourth there too, which is a little better. Second at Boyceville, pretty good. Second at Palatine, pretty good. And I think we're back to where we started at Belleville. Pretty good. Across the board, a couple not too great showings. No real bombs, though. So I think I'm giving detector building to Marquette. Troy, coming in with their first place in disease detectives. Got to make sure we specify California Troy. The California teams were really hard for me to rank because I did put them in second and first overall. But in events, you'll see, they still have quite a few ranked events here, but not necessarily as many as like Marquette or Syosset. And part of that is just because we don't have too much data on them. And the data we do have on them is only California teams competing against themselves. Like we have a bunch of data on like Monte Vista and Mountain View and Troy matching up against each other. But like, how do they compare to Mason or Seven Lakes or Marquette? Like, you don't know. So it was really hard for me to rank these California teams. But I am giving the win in disease detectives to Troy. I already have them searched. We look at their record first at Maria Loma. That's where they were against Mountain View and Monte Vista. Very good. And for this, I used a proxy. I used Monte Vista as a proxy because Monte Vista has competed against some other teams in disease detectives. And you can see pretty decent, second at Dick Smith. They scratched it at Belleville, but that didn't count towards their, or whatever tournament that was, didn't count towards their team score. And first at Rickards. So Monte Vista, pretty decent at this event. And being able to beat Monte Vista, very noteworthy. And if we look at Great Oak, again, pretty good. Not super competitive teams other than Troy, but still very good. First and third, likely unstacked. Pretty good. I'm giving that Disease Detectives to Troy. Dynamic Planet. You'll see I went through a bunch of teams before I eventually settled on Ward Melville for first place in Dynamic Planet. If we look, there's really only one. We only have one data point for Ward Melville, but it's a good one. They got first here at Boyceville, beating Monte Vista, beating Marquette, who did I consider Marquette for this? I forget. I did at one point. I did consider Marquette for this. Beating Marquette, very noteworthy. Beating Stevenson and Nutrier. Neither of them were ranked here, but still fairly noteworthy. So, yeah, I'm going to give the win in DP to Marquette. Ecology. So this is Syosset's first victory, first of many, as you can see coming up here. Ecology. Syosset, again, we have pretty limited data for them, but the data we do have suggests they are very good at this event. You can see first place both at Battle at Valley Forge and Cornell. Not weak competition either. Going up against Montgomery and Westminster Plainsboro and Lower Merion. And then at Battle, Great Neck South, Westminster again, Harriton, and Cumberland Valley, and Lower Merion again. Harriton, this is their B team, but Lower Merion seems unstacked here. So, very good showing in this event for Syosset, so I'm giving the win in Ecology to them. Next, Experimental Design. Marquette University, I'm giving another victory in this event. Maybe you can start to see why I moved Syosset and Marquette up. Marquette honestly might be even better than I'm giving them credit for. Just as I'm going through here, seeing the number of first places. I think, though, the events that they are not ranked in, if you've never, competed in Science Olympiad or competed at a high level, the events that you don't rank in actually impact you more than the events that you do. Because if Marquette can get first in every single event, but if they get like last or second to last in just one event, one or two events, then that just can tank their team score and can really drag down the team as a whole. So you really want to make sure that you're not bombing events. And I think a couple of these teams that I have ranking in a lot of these events. Just they have some events that they're really just not very good at, and they have a tendency to bomb. So yeah, that's why I have them ranked lower. But anyway, Marquette in XD. Let's look at this. So here at Harlem, first place, first and fourth actually. Boyceville getting eighth, not super great. This was the tournament Marquette didn't do that great, and this is really the only indication we have that Marquette is not that great. Any other tournament you look at, any other data suggests that Marquette is very good. Palatine, first place. Belleville, first place. Marquette, their own invitational, first place. So, like, you can see why I rank them first, despite their slip up at Boyceville or whatever that was. Fermi questions. I'm giving to William G. Enlow from North Carolina. If we look, don't have too much data on them. The data we do have is concentrated in 2 tournaments. You can see, though, at this tournament, which was very competitive, they didn't do great in a lot of events here. So any event that they did really well in here, I ranked them high in. And Fermi Questions is one of those, getting second, beating out all the competitive teams at the top here. And then SciAly Outreach, they sent 3 teams to, and 2 of them did amazing in this event. So I'm giving Fermi Questions to William G. Enlow. Forensics, I'm going to give to Seven Lakes. If we look at their record here, let's, oh, I can't necessarily scroll anymore. All right, anyway. Forensics, so Seven Lakes, you can see second at Cypress Falls. Getting unstacked, one of their teams got second at Rickards. Again, Highlands, not really the best indication, outdated, and second and first. This is really what made me think they were amazing at Forensics. Second and first against Jordan and Clements at the University of Texas Invitational. Very, very noteworthy and worthy of first place at MIT, in my opinion. Forestry, I'm giving to Syosset. I considered some other teams, but Syosset, I think, just has a little more going for them here. Forestry, you can see at Cornell they got first, and at Battle at Valley Forge they got first. And again, these 2 tournaments are not easy tournaments. They have some pretty stiff competition here, but they're still able to excel in quite a few events. So Forestry, I'm giving to Syosset. Fossils, I'm going to give to William P. Clements from Texas. This is right now the 3rd place Texas team, I believe, at least in my opinion. But Fossils is one of the events that they are very good at. You can see University of Texas getting first, Cypress Falls getting first, beating Seven Lakes and Jordan, and Rickards getting first. And those, I believe, yep, those are the 3 data points we have on them. So I don't have any grievances about giving them first in Fossils at this tournament. Geomapping, another one to Syosset. This one they might not have gotten first in, it's here. So they got first at Cornell, and yeah, they got second at Battle at Valley Forge, losing to Great Neck South. Fortunately for them, Great Neck South is not going to MIT. So again, giving them first in geomapping, no regrets there. Westminster Plainsboro will take first in Micro Mission. Westminster Plainsboro, looking at their record in Micro Mission. I want to scroll here. There we go. So, yep, taking first at Battle at Valley Forge. Not that amazing, taking 5th and 3rd. That's still pretty good, though. Taking 5th and 3rd at Cornell. Pretty decent. And those are the data points we have. First at Battle at Valley Forge, again, competing against Syosset, Great Neck South, CV. They can still manage to get first. So I think they will take first here as well. Optics, I'm giving to Jordan. And if we look at their record in optics, you can see first at University of Texas, first at Cypress Falls. Not great at Highlands, but again, Highlands, I'm almost completely disregarding that tournament at this point. I know I'm really harsh towards Highlands, but I think that at this point, even if you think the tournament is, well managed and legit, I think that it's pretty outdated at this point because it happened in early October. Robot Tour, another one to Syosset. You can see why, again, I increased Syosset's ranking. So Cornell, not too great in this event, but then at Battle at Valley Forge, coming back and getting first place. And I think, yeah, Robot Tour was another one that I italicized. This could go to a lot of different teams. You can see I ranked CV in second here. I'll talk about this a little bit since the event is italicized. CV has kind of been all over the place with this event. Battle at Valley Forge, they didn't do very well. But then if you look at their other two tournaments, Dick Smith, they got second, very good. And then at Soaps, they got third, very good. Mason did beat them at Soaps in this event. So I don't have Mason ranked in Robot. Should probably, you know what? I think I'll put Mason ahead of CV just because they beat them in at Soaps here. And again, that was very recent, so we'll go with that. Scrambler, I'm going to give to Marquette, another one for Marquette. Yeah, Marquette and Syosset, I think, are getting the most first places here. But Scrambler, you can see Marquette's record here. First at their own invitational, first at Harlem, second at Boyceville, first at Palatine, first at Belleville. So, I mean, very consistent across the board. No grievances about giving Scrambler to Marquette. Tower, I'm going to give to Montgomery. I believe this is the first time I've talked about Montgomery in this video. I think we only have one data point for Montgomery, but it's a good one. First place in Tower at Cornell here, beating Syosset, beating Westminster. Although it looks like the Westminster might have scratched in this event, but still very noteworthy. So I'm going to give them first place in Tower. Wind Power, I'm giving to Troy from California. That's a little bit annoying. There's two Troys I need to keep track of. And I think's kind of in the way. I'll move it over here, I guess. This is Wind Power here. You can see Troy getting first and second at Maria Loma, very competitive California Invitational. And then here at a less competitive invitational, again, still taking first and third. So I think their first and second, though, at Maria Loma is warranted of a first place here. And last but maybe least, actually, is Witty. Now, I should actually italicize Witty. I've explained this a little bit before, but Witty, I'm coining the Witty syndrome, which is basically how competitive teams very often bomb this event. This is an event that if you're watching any Science Olympiad award ceremony, you'll see, just the most random teams who might not have even medaled in any other event, taking firsts and seconds and thirds in this event, and outcompeting traditionally competitive teams. So none of these teams are really that amazing at Witty, with the exception maybe of Harriton. So looking at Harriton's record, again, Harriton, not too much data here. You can see Battle, they didn't do that great in Witty. They had a pretty strong case of Witty syndrome here with their B team. But then down here at Dick Smith, this is what really made me give them first here. Second and sixth, which spread across two rosters, unstacked. That's really good. And I mean, this event, this is the biggest wild card. Robot Tour is a little bit of a wild card. Teams might get some Witty syndrome there too, but this is really the event that is the biggest wild card of all. Teams, if they do really well in this event, they'll probably do really well in the entire tournament just because so few competitive teams do well here. I should say if you're a competitive team and you do well in this event, you usually do well in the whole tournament. But yeah, that'll be it. Those are all the events. We've gone through every single one. And again, these are my final overall scores. I'm predicting Mountain View will take the gold, Troy taking silver, and Mason taking bronze. So thank you so much for watching this video about my MIT predictions. I'll, of course, be making an analysis to MIT. Again, probably the most important tournament to make an analysis video on. Other than, like I said, other than maybe like Solon or something. But yeah, I'll definitely be making an analysis video when the results come out. So again, thank you so much for watching. Have a fantastic day.